The Zilani Confederation was dying. Their beautiful blue worlds, once filled with peaceful cities and floating gardens, now burned under alien weapons. These gentle beings had never known real war. They built their civilization on trade, art, and diplomacy. Violence was something they read about in ancient history books. It's not something they lived through. Commander Haeon-Soo Park was enjoying his morning coffee aboard the UES Valiant when everything changed. The ship was humanity's pride, sleek, fast, and equipped with the latest exploration technology. Park had been looking forward to mapping another star system when the emergency. Beacons screamed through subspace. The sound was horrible. Not because it was loud, but because of the raw terror it carried. Someone was dying out there, and they were begging for help. Captain Mina Lee rushed to the bridge, still putting on her uniform jacket. She was young for a captain, barely but she had earned her position through years of dangerous deep space missions. Her dark eyes quickly scanned the data streaming across the main screen. "What do we have, Park?" she asked, settling into the captain's chair. "Alien distress signal, Captain. Multiple sources, all speaking the same language. The translation matrix is working on it now." Corporal Jinwoo Kim, their best language specialist, was hunched over his console. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he struggled with the alien words. "Captain, this is bad, really bad." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they could hear voices. Dozens of them, all speaking at once, all terrified. The translation came through in broken pieces. "Help us. The Kreks come. Our children are dying. Please, if anyone can hear this." "Boy," but then one voice cut through the chaos, speaking directly. "To them, we call upon the Deathworlders of Terra. We have heard the legends, you who survived the impossible world, you who know war. Please, help us." Lee felt her blood run cold. "They know about Earth. How is that possible?" "Lieutenant Soyoung." Choi turned from her communication station. "Captain, I'm picking up at least 50 different transmission sources. They're all saying the same thing. Something called the Kreks Dominion is destroying everything in their path." Commander Tae-Hoon-nam, Lee's second-in-command, pulled up a star chart. "The signals are coming from the Zilani Confederation, about 6 days at maximum jump speed. Never heard of them before, but their territory is huge." Park enhanced the sensor readings. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures, explosions, weapons, fire, the works. This isn't just a small conflict. This looks like total war." Lee studied the data. The Zilani had tried everything. They sent diplomats, offered tribute, even evacuated entire planets hoping to appease their attackers. Nothing worked. The Kreks Dominion wanted only one thing: complete destruction. "How do they know about us?" Lee wondered aloud. "We've only had faster-than-light travel for 20 years. Most of our ships are still exploring empty space." Kim looked up from his console. "Captain, I think I found something. There are references in their transmissions to the survivors of the Death Planet, and those who learned war from their cradle. Someone's been spreading stories about humanity." The bridge fell silent. Earth was indeed a death world by galactic standards. Most planets that supported life were gentle places, mild weather, few predators, stable ecosystems. Earth was different. Earthquakes, hurricanes, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless species, all fighting for survival. "Humans had evolved in a cosmic gladiator arena," Sir Choi said quietly. "They're not just asking for help, they're begging. Listen to this." Speakers crackled with a new voice, older and more tired. "Great warriors of Terra, we offer everything we have. Our knowledge, our resources, our eternal gratitude. We do not ask you to save us because we deserve it. We ask because we have children who deserve to see tomorrow." Lee closed her eyes. She thought about her own daughter back on Earth, playing in gardens that existed only because humans had fought for thousands of years to build something beautiful on their harsh world. "Nam, what's our fleet status?" "We've got the heavy cruiser Thunderbolt 2 days out, destroyers Lightning and Storm nearby, plus the medical ship Mercy and marine transport Iron Fist within a week's jump." "Not exactly an invasion force," Park muttered. Lee stood up, her decision made. Signal, all ships. We're going to Zalani space. It's time the galaxy learned what humans do when innocent people are in danger. Captain Nam said carefully, "We don't know anything about this Krex Dominion. They might have thousands of ships." Lee smiled grimly. "Then they're about to learn why Earth produced the most stubborn species in the galaxy. Set course, maximum speed. Out." The Zalani asked for Deathworlders. And that's exactly what they're going to get. Admiral Junho Yang was having dinner in his quarters when the emergency alert shattered the quiet evening aboard the UES Thunder. At 52, Yang had seen more combat than most admirals twice his age. His weathered face told stories of battles fought in the asteroid belts of Sol System and skirmishes with pirates in the outer colonies. Captain Lee's report came through on his personal communicator, and Yang's expression grew darker with each word. An entire alien civilization was being wiped out, and they had specifically called for human help. The responsibility felt enormous. Yang walked onto the bridge of his flagship, a massive heavy cruiser bristling with weapons that had been designed for fighting other humans. Now they might face something completely unknown. His small fleet was spread across 3 star systems, conducting routine patrols and training exercises. "What do we have available?" Yang asked his chief of staff. Commander Yan Wuxin pulled up the fleet roster. The destroyers Lightning and Storm are closest to Captain Lee's position. Heavy cruiser Thunderbolt is conducting gunnery practice 2 days out. Medical frigate Mercy just finished resupplying at Station Bravo. Marine transport. Iron Fist is loaded with Colonel Han's assault battalion. Yang studied the numbers. 5 ships total, carrying maybe 3,000 personnel. Back on Earth military, historians would have called it a patrol force, not a battle fleet. "Sir," interrupted Navigation Officer Haijin Bei, her voice tight with urgency. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts. 17 ships, running at maximum speed toward our position." Yang moved to the tactical display. The approaching vessels were unlike anything in human databases. Sleek, organic-looking hulls that seemed to flow like water. No weapons signatures, minimal armor. These had to be the Zalani refugees. Admiral called out Commander Sungmin Kong from the tactical station. "I've got 6 larger contacts pursuing the refugee ships. Heavy armor, massive energy signatures. They're gaining fast." Yang felt his pulse quicken. This was it, humanity's first real contact with hostile aliens. Everything they did in the next few minutes would shape how the galaxy saw them for generations. Distance to intercept? 15 minutes at current speed, sir? Yang looked around his bridge. These men and women had trained their entire careers to fight human enemies, pirates, rogue colonies, corporate security forces. They knew human tactics, human weapons, human weaknesses, but aliens. This was completely new territory. Communications. "Get me Captain Lee," on priority channel. Ensign Dayun Cho's fingers flew over her console. "Channel open, sir. Lee, what's your status?" "We're moving to intercept, Admiral. Zalani ships are defenseless. They don't even have military shields. The Krex are going to slaughter them." Yang made his decision. "All ships, this is Admiral Yang. We are now officially at war with the Krex Dominion. Want full combat formation. Lightning and Storm, flank speed to support Captain Lee. Thunderbolt, you're with me. Mercy, stay back and prepare for casualties. Iron Fist, get your Marines ready for anything." The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves. Years of training in Earth's brutal war games had taught them to work together instinctively. Their ships might be smaller than what they were about to face, but they had something the galaxy had never seen: human tactical flexibility. Sir Kong called out, "The Krex ships are massive. Each one outguns our destroyers 3-1. Yang smiled coldly. "Then it's a fair fight. Haijin, plot an intercept course. Take us right through their formation." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Charging directly at superior numbers was either brilliant or insane. But they had trained under Yang for years, and they trusted his judgment completely, Zerbay said. "Quietly, the Zalani ships are transmitting to us. They're thanking us, but they're also warning us that the Krex have never been defeated in battle." Yang settled into his command chair. then they've never fought humans before. All ships, this is Admiral Yang. Today we show the galaxy what Earth's children can do. Attack formation, full speed ahead. The human fleet surged forward, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. Behind them, 17 refugee ships watched in amazement as the small human force charged directly into the teeth of the Krek's war machine. Time to contact? 3 minutes, sir. Yang opened the fleet communication channel. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves today. We're fighting for every innocent being who can't fight back. Show them why they call us Deathworlders. The Kreks had never faced anything like it. For 300 years, it swept across the galaxy using the same strategy, overwhelming firepower. Massive ships, and the simple assumption that smaller forces would retreat when faced with superior numbers. Every species they had encountered followed this logical pattern. Humans, apparently, had never learned logic. Captain Biora Song was laughing as her destroyer. You storm dove straight between 2 Kreks heavy cruisers. Her crew thought she had lost her mind, but Song knew exactly what she was doing. The Krek ships were huge and powerful, but they were also slow and clumsy. They had been designed to fight other large vessels and organize battle lines, not to deal with small, fast attackers who ignored all reasonable tactical doctrine. Target their engines, Song called out to her weapons officer. These big ships can't fight what they can't catch. The Storm's plasma cannons tore into the rear section of the nearest Krek's cruiser. The alien ship shuddered and began to list. As its main drive units exploded, the Krek's commander, following standard procedure, ordered his ship to ram the smaller human vessel. Song saw it coming and grinned. We're going to show them how Earth builds ships. The U-Storm had been constructed in the orbital shipyards above Mars, where every vessel was designed to survive the harsh realities of Earth's solar system, asteroid impacts, solar radiation, and the constant threat of equipment failure. The vacuum of space had taught human engineers to build tough, redundant systems. The Storm's bow was reinforced with compressed titanium steel composite. Designed to punch through space debris at high velocity, the Krek's cruiser's hull built, for appearance and energy efficiency, crumpled like paper. Song's ship punched straight through the alien vessel's midsection, merging on the other side with barely a scratch on her armored prow. That's how we do it, shouted Weapons Officer Jamin Park as he watched the Krek's ship break apart behind them. Meanwhile, Admiral Yang was conducting what could only be described as a masterclass in human tactical thinking. Instead of engaging the Krek ships head-on, his fleet split into 3 groups and attacked from different angles simultaneously. The alien commanders, trained to fight predictable battles, couldn't adapt fast enough to counter the human strategy. The Destroyer Lightning, commanded by Captain Dongmin Kim, used the debris from destroyed Krek's ships as cover, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Every time the Kreks thought they had a target lock, Kim would vanish behind a chunk of twisted metal, only to emerge somewhere else entirely. Sir, reported his tactical officer, they're trying to surround us. Kim smiled. Let them try. On Earth, we call this a target-rich environment. The heavy cruiser Thunderbolt, under Captain Sujin Lee, demonstrated another uniquely human approach to warfare. Instead of trying to match the Krek ship's gun for gun, Lee used her superior speed to stay at long range, picking off enemy weapon systems with precision fire. The Kreks found themselves armed with increasingly useless ships as their guns were systematically destroyed. When the last Kreks raider finally exploded, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The human fleet regrouped near the Zalani refugee ships, their hulls barely scratched despite facing superior numbers. Admiral Yang opened a communication channel to the refugee fleet, Zalani vessels. This is Admiral Yang of the Terran Defense Fleet, you are now under our protection. The response came from a ship called Peaceful Current. The voice was musical, almost like singing, but tinged with disbelief. Admiral Yang, we witnessed something impossible. Your ships are so small, yet you destroyed the Kreks raiders with such ease. How is this possible? Captain Veltar, the Zalani commander, had never seen anything like it. In his species, warfare was about avoiding conflict, finding peaceful solutions, and retreating when faced with superior force. The idea of deliberately charging into danger was completely alien to him. "We are grateful beyond words," Veltar continued. "But surely you cannot face the entire Krex Dominion with only 5 ships. They have thousands of vessels, entire fleets, that have conquered a dozen star systems." From the Marine Transport Iron Fist, Sergeant Major Yunji Quan was monitoring the communications with amusement. She had served in 3 different planetary conflicts and understood something the Zilani humans didn't measure strength in numbers alone. "Tell them we're just getting started," she muttered to her aide. Lieutenant Colonel Seo Chin Han was already planning the next phase of operations. His Marines were the toughest soldiers in human space, trained to fight in zero gravity, hostile atmospheres, in any environment that could kill ordinary people. They specialized in boarding actions, the kind of close-quarters combat that most species tried to avoid. "Prep the assault shuttles," Han ordered his battalion commanders. "If we're going to face the Krex Dominion, we need to learn how they fight up close. Time for some prisoners." The Zilani watched in amazement as the human Marines began preparing for operations that seemed suicidal. These strange beings from the death world called Earth were about to teach the galaxy a new kind of warfare. The Zilani command center was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Instead of the harsh metal and stark lighting of human military facilities, this place looked more like a garden. Soft blue light filtered through crystal panels, and the air smelled faintly of flowers. Everything was designed for beings who had evolved in peace, not war. Admiral Yang had to duck slightly as he entered the main briefing room. The Zilani had built everything for their own small stature, and most humans felt like giants in their delicate spaces. Commander Zillanith, the highest-ranking Zilani military officer, barely reached Yang's chest. Her skin had an almost translucent quality, like living crystal, and her large compound eyes reflected the room's soft lighting. Admiral Young Zillanith said in her musical voice, "We are honored by your presence, though I must confess, your species continues to surprise us." Young watched as Major Yuri Park casually lifted a tactical display unit that 3 Zilani technicians had been struggling to move. Park was considered average strength by human standards, but to the Zilani she might as well have been a superhero. "Physical capabilities are remarkable," Zillanith continued, "but what truly amazes us is your attitude. You show no fear of the Krex numbers. You not understand the magnitude of their forces." Captain 1 Hugh Lee Yangs, Chief Intelligence Officer, was studying the holographic tactical displays that showed Krex fleet movements across Zilani space. The patterns were clear and methodical. "Commander Zillanith, may I ask how the Krex typically attack?" Zillanith gestured to the display with one of her delicate 4-fingered hands. "They arrive in overwhelming numbers, usually 10-to-1 odds, sometimes 20-to-1. They broadcast demands for surrender. When we refuse, they destroy everything. Systematically, no variation, no creativity. It has worked for them for 3 centuries. Lee nodded thoughtfully. "They fight like a machine. Same tactics, same formations, same approach every time. Very predictable." The Zilani officers exchanged confused glances. Predictable. The Krex Dominion had conquered dozens of star systems using these exact methods. How could the humans be so casual about facing an enemy that had never been defeated? Lieutenant Commander Jae-Yoon Lim noticed their confusion. She had served as a military psychologist before joining Yang's staff, and she understood that different species approached conflict in completely different ways. Commander Zillanith, Lim said gently, "How does your species typically handle conflict?" "We seek dialogue," Zillanith replied immediately. "We offer trade agreements, cultural exchanges, territorial concessions. Violence is always the last resort, and even then, we prefer defensive actions. The idea of deliberately seeking battle is ... disturbing to us." Yang pulled up a chair that was far too small for him and sat down carefully. He wanted to be at eye level with the Zilani commanders to help them understand. Yang began, "Conflict shaped every aspect of our evolution. For millions of years, our ancestors faced predators, natural disasters, disease, and eventually, each other. We learned that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to fight for it. He gestured to the tactical displays showing Krek's fleet positions. When we look at these numbers, we don't see an impossible situation. We see a puzzle to solve. How do we use our advantages to overcome their strengths? How do we turn their predictability against them? Captain Minho Choi, Yang's tactical planning officer, joined the conversation. Every human child learns strategy games. We call them sports, but they're really training for conflict. We practice making quick decisions under pressure, adapting to changing situations, working as a team against superior numbers. Zillaneth's compound eyes widened, and what humans would eventually learn was the Zilani expression of shock. You train your children for war, we train them for life, Yang corrected. On Earth, the difference between the two isn't always clear. Room fell silent as the Zilani officers tried to process this information. Their species had evolved on a peaceful world, with few predators and abundant resources. Concept of finding excitement in conflict was completely foreign to them. You view war as entertainment? Zeleneth asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yang's expression grew serious. No, Commander. We view war as necessity. When peaceful beings like your people are threatened by those who only understand violence, someone has to stand up and fight back. That's what we do. Major Park set down the equipment she had been examining and turned to face the Zilani officers. My daughter is 8 years old. She's back on Earth, probably playing in the park right now. I'm not here because I enjoy fighting. I'm here because I want her to grow up in a galaxy where peaceful species like yours can exist without fear. The Zilani began to understand. These humans weren't warriors because they loved violence. They were warriors because someone had to. Because the galaxy contained predators who preyed on the innocent. The Kreks have never faced opponents like you, Zeleneth observed. Yang smiled grimly. No, they haven't. And that's going to be their biggest disadvantage. Captain Donghyun Choi had always been considered slightly crazy, even by human standards. His fellow officers called him Asteroid Choi because of his habit of taking his destroyer through space. Debris fields that navigation computers labeled as suicide runs. Today, that reputation was about to become a tactical advantage. Sir, his navigation officer called out nervously. The asteroid field ahead is showing massive gravitational anomalies. One wrong move, and we'll be crushed. Choi studied the swirling mass of rock and metal that stretched between his ship and the Krek's fleet. Most species would have gone around adding hours to their approach time. The Kreks certainly expected that their formation was positioned to intercept any reasonable attack route. Plot a course straight through the center, Choi ordered. His bridge crew exchanged worried glances. The asteroid field was a death trap. Chunks of rock the size of city blocks spinning unpredictably. Magnetic storms that could fry electronics and gravitational eddies that could tear a ship apart. His tactical officer said carefully, the computer shows a 97% chance of collision. Choi grinned. Then we'll fly the other 3%. Manual navigation, all sensors on maximum. Show me every rock out there. The destroyer U.S. Lightning plunged into the asteroid field like a needle threading through a haystack. Choi's hands danced over the manual controls, guiding his ship between spinning boulders with reflexes honed by years of dangerous missions. His crew watched in amazement as rocks the size of skyscrapers passed within meters of their hull. How is he doing this? Whispered the communications officer. Experience, replied the chief engineer. Choi grew up on Titan Station, dodging ice chunks and Saturn's rings. This is just another day at the office for him. 20 minutes later, lightning emerged from the asteroid field directly behind the Krek's battle line. The enemy had been watching the field's edge, never imagining that anyone would be insane enough to fly straight through it. Great surprise, Choi muttered as his weapons systems locked onto the nearest Krek's cruiser. Meanwhile, aboard the Marine transport Iron Fist, Colonel Guri Nam was briefing her assault teams for an operation that would have been considered impossible by every other species in the galaxy. The Krek ships used methane-based atmospheres, lethal to most oxygen-breathing life forms. Standard military doctrines suggested using long-range weapons and avoiding close combat entirely. Human Marines had different ideas. Listen up, Nam told her gathered soldiers. The Kreks breathe methane, we breathe oxygen. That means their ships are filled with poison gas, and our ships are filled with what they consider poison gas. Most species would see this as a problem. We're going to use it as a weapon. Sergeant Il-sung Cho, a veteran of the Martian colonial wars, raised his hand. Zero atmosphere assault, Colonel. Nam nodded. Exactly. We're going to breach their hulls, vent their atmosphere, and fight them in hard vacuum. They'll be trapped in environmental suits while we operate in our natural element. The Marines began checking their equipment with the casual efficiency of professionals. To them, fighting in the vacuum of space was just another environment to master. They had trained for it, prepared for it, and some of them actually enjoyed it. Remember, Nam continued, most species panic when their ships are breached. They've never had to deal with enemies who can survive in vacuum longer than they can. Use that fear against them. Sergeant Cho sealed his helmet and activated his suit's magnetic clamps. Ma'am, how long do we have before their reinforcements arrive? 20 minutes, Nam replied. More than enough time to show them why Earth breeds the toughest soldiers in the galaxy. The assault shuttles launched from iron fists like bullets, heading straight for the Kreks formation. Instead of trying to dock normally, the human Marines used shaped charges to blow holes in the alien hulls. As methane atmosphere vented into space, the Marines dove through the breaches. Moving with practiced ease in the zero-gravity environment, the Kreks had never experienced anything like it. Their soldiers, trapped in bulky environmental suits, could barely move in the naurless corridors of their own ships. The humans, meanwhile, bounced off walls and used magnetic grips to navigate with incredible speed. "Contact! Contact!" shouted Corporal Young-Ho Kim as he encountered his first Krek soldier. The alien was fumbling with a weapon while trying to maintain balance in zero gravity. Kim, who had trained for exactly this scenario, disarmed him with movements that looked almost like a dance. Lieutenant Hoyajinon's fighter squadron was writing their own chapter in the history books. Flying craft barely larger than cars, they dove between massive Kreks battleships like mosquitoes attacking elephants. The alien gunners couldn't track targets that moved so unpredictably. Break formation, unordered her pilots. Individual attack runs. Make them think there are twice as many of us. Her fighters scattered in all directions, using maneuvers that would have killed pilots from most other species. Humans, evolved under Earth's heavy gravity and harsh conditions, could withstand forces that would crush other beings. "This is impossible," transmitted Flight Officer Sung-Woo Park as he pulled a turn that should have liquefied his internal organs. "They can't track us if we don't fly in straight lines." The Kreks fleet commanders watched in growing horror as their disciplined formations fell apart under the chaotic human assault. These weren't the predictable enemies they were used to fighting. These were beings who thrived in conditions that would kill anyone else, who found opportunity in every disadvantage. The galaxy was about to learn a new term, Deathworlder doctrine, the human approach to warfare that turned every hostile environment into a weapon. The captured Kreks dreadnought was a monument to military engineering. Massive corridors stretched for hundreds of meters, lined with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Yang had expected to find a vessel designed for conquest. But as he walked through its halls, he noticed something strange. Everywhere he looked, he saw signs of hasty construction, emergency modifications, and desperate repairs. War Commander Thoktar was nothing like Yang had imagined. The Kreks leader stood nearly 8 feet tall, his reptilian hide scarred from countless battles. But his eyes held something Yang recognized from his own mirror during the darkest days of the colonial wars, the haunted look of someone who had seen too much death. Admiral Young Thaktor said in heavily accented English, "You fight well for such a small species. I've never seen tactics like yours." Young studied the alien commander carefully. In the past week, human forces had captured 3 Kreks ships and interrogated dozens of prisoners. Every piece of intelligence pointed to the same conclusion. The Krex Dominion was running from something. Thaktar, Yang said, settling into a chair that had been hastily modified for human proportions. My intelligence officers tell me your fleets are moving in a pattern. You're not expanding randomly. You're fleeing. What are you running from? For a moment, the massive alien said nothing. His clawed hands gripped the edge of the metal table, and Yang could see the tremor running through his muscular frame. The Devourers, Thaktar finally whispered. Machines that eat everything. Came from beyond the galactic rim 6 months ago. 12 star systems, gone. Not conquered, not occupied, consumed. Every planet stripped down to bedrock. Every ship torn apart for raw materials. Captain Miranjung Yang, xenobiology and technology expert, leaned forward. Machines? You mean artificial intelligence?
Thaktar replied.
They are not intelligent in any way we understand. They simply consume and replicate, like a virus made of metal and energy. Each system they devour makes them stronger, gives them more resources to build more ships. Jung pulled up her portable computer and began taking notes rapidly. How many ships are we talking about? When they first appeared, maybe 1,000 vessels? Now, Thaktar's voice broke slightly. Our scouts estimate over 50,000, and the number grows every day. Commander Chang Ho Kim, Yang's strategic planning officer, studied the star charts that Thaktar had provided. The progression was terrifyingly clear, an expanding wave of destruction moving steadily through the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. At their current rate of expansion, Kim calculated grimly, they'll reach Solani space in 8 months, human colonies in 18 months, Earth itself in 2 years. Yang felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a lead blanket. This changed everything. The war with the Krex suddenly seemed like a minor disagreement compared to what was coming. So you weren't conquering the Zalani, Yang said slowly. You were trying to gather resources for a last stand against these devourers. Thaktar nodded miserably. The Krex Dominion has ruled through strength for 1,000 years. But strength means nothing against an enemy that turns your own destroyed ships into more weapons against you. We needed manufacturing capacity, raw materials, strategic positions. The Zalani had all of these. You thought they would just give them to you? Thought they would understand the threat, Thaktar admitted. But they kept trying to negotiate, to find peaceful solutions. There was no time for peace. Every day of delay meant more systems consumed, more devourer ships built. Yang studied the tactical projections again. The math was brutal but clear. Humanity had perhaps the most advanced military in the galaxy, but they had maybe 300 warships total. Zalani had excellent coordination and communication networks, but almost no military capability. The Krex had massive industrial capacity and millions of soldiers. But their tactics were rigid and predictable. Separately, none of them could stand against the approaching swarm. Together, they might have a chance. Thaktar Yang said carefully, I'm going to make you an offer that probably sounds insane. An alliance. Krex. Industrial might, Zalani coordination networks, human tactical innovation. Pool our resources and fight this threat together. The alien commander stared at Yang as if he had suggested flying into a star. You would trust us? After we attacked your allies? After we invaded peaceful worlds? Yang thought about his daughter. Back on Earth, playing in gardens that might not exist in 2 years if the Devourers continued their advance. He thought about the Zalani children cowering in refugee ships, and even about Krex families who had probably lost everything to the approaching mechanical plague. I don't trust you, Thaktar, Yang said honestly, but I trust necessity. And right now, necessity says that if we don't work together, we all die separately. Thaktar was quiet for a long moment, his reptilian features unreadable. Finally, he spoke. What do you propose, Admiral? First, immediate ceasefire with the Zalani. Then we pool our intelligence about these devourers. Finally, we start planning the largest joint military operation in galactic history. Yang stood up and extended his hand to the towering alien. What do you say, War Commander? Ready to save the galaxy? Harmony Station had been built as a symbol of Zalani ideals. Peaceful cooperation, artistic beauty, and gentle diplomacy. Its crystalline spires and flowing organic architecture represented everything that Zilani valued about civilization. It was being transformed into the largest military staging area in galactic history. And the peaceful aliens watched in fascination and horror as their beautiful station filled with weapons of war. Commander HFY SEO hadn't slept in 3 days. As the lead systems integration officer, she was responsible for making 3 completely different technologies work together. It was like trying to build a car using parts from a bicycle, a tank, and a spaceship. The Krex fusion reactors are incredibly powerful, she explained to Admiral Yang during their morning briefing. But they're designed for brute force, not precision. Their targeting computers can hit a planet from across a star system, but they can't track fast-moving fighters. Chief Engineer Kyuncho Ru looked exhausted as he presented his report. Sir, I've been working with Krex Chief Technician Grektha to modify their weapon systems. The good news is that their plasma cannons can punch through any armor we've ever seen. The bad news is that they fire in straight lines only. No tactical flexibility at all. Young studied the technical readouts. Can we fix that? Trying. To install human guidance systems in their weapons, Ru replied. But it's like performing surgery with a sledgehammer. Everything they build is massive and over-engineered. Meanwhile, Captain Young Sikbei was dealing with logistics challenges that no military academy had ever prepared him for. How do you feed an army that consists of humans who eat organic compounds, Krex who consume mineral supplements, and Zilani, who absorb nutrients through their skin from specially treated water? Sir Bei reported to Yang, "We've got supply ships coming in from 30 different worlds, carrying everything from human coffee to Krex calcium carbonate to Zilani purification crystals. I've never seen anything like it." The cultural problems were even more complex than the technical ones. Lieutenant Commander Jinna Moon had been assigned as the diplomatic liaison. She was earning her pay every single day. During one memorable planning session, Krex war leader Thogarn had suggested a direct assault strategy that involved acceptable losses of 30%. The Zilani representatives had been horrified, with Commander Zeleneth actually fainting when she heard the casualty projections. "This is barbaric," protested Captain Veltar of the Zilani fleet. "How can you speak so casually about sacrificing lives?" Skullgarn's scaled hide flushed darker with anger. "Ow. Because sacrifice is necessary for victory. Your people's weaknesses is why the Devourers will consume you all." Moon stepped between them before the argument could escalate further. "Stop, both of you. We're not here to change each other's fundamental nature. We're here to use our differences as strengths." She turned to address the entire mixed group of officers. "The Krex think like warriors because that's what they are. The Zilani think like coordinators because that's their strength. We humans think like problem solvers because that's how we survived on Earth. None of these approaches is wrong there. Just different tools for different jobs." Slowly, painfully, the alliance began to work. The breakthrough came when human engineers figured out how to combine Krex industrial capacity with Zilani precision manufacturing. Suddenly, the massive Krex shipyards were producing vessels with the elegant efficiency of Zilani design and the tactical flexibility of human innovation. Chief Technician Baksu Park was working 18-hour days in the converted manufacturing. "Bays, Admiral, we're producing ships faster than anyone thought possible. The Krex can build 5 hulls in the time it used to take them to build one, and the Zilani quality control systems mean everything actually works perfectly." The Zilani coordination networks proved invaluable for managing the complex logistics of the joint fleet. Their natural ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously made them perfect for tracking thousands of ships, millions of personnel, and countless supply requirements. "The Zilani are amazing," reported Communications Officer Dayun Cho. "They can coordinate fleet movements across 3 star systems while simultaneously managing supply convoys and monitoring enemy activity. It's like watching a conductor lead the galaxy's largest orchestra." But it was human tactical innovation that truly transformed the Alliance. Concepts that seemed obvious to humans, like using asteroids as mobile weapons platforms, or hiding ships in stellar radiation zones, were revolutionary to species that had fought the same way for thousands of years. "Captain, Min-Jae Lee demonstrated the new tactics during a training exercise. "Watch this," he told the mixed group of officers. "We take a Krex heavy cruiser, install Zilani sensor networks, and use human hit-and-run tactics. The enemy sees one ship, but that ship can coordinate with 50 others they can't detect. Work, Commander." Thakdar watched the demonstration with what humans were learning to recognize as Krex amazement. "Incredible. You make war into an art form." "No," Yang corrected him. "We make war into a science. And now we're all going to become very good scientists together." The unlikely alliance was working, but everyone knew the real test was still coming. The Devourers were only months away. And when they arrived, the galaxy would discover whether cooperation could triumph over consumption. The first sign of the Devourers was the silence. Deep space monitoring stations simply stopped transmitting one by one as the swarm consumed everything in its path. Then the long-range sensors began picking up something that chilled the blood of every species in the galaxy, a wall of metallic ships stretching across an entire star system, moving with the mechanical precision of a cosmic plague. Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the UES Thunder, watching as millions of hostile contacts appeared on the tactical display. Each dot represented a ship designed for one purpose: to strip matter from planets, moons, asteroids, and other vessels to build more copies of itself. The math was terrifying. For every Devourer ship destroyed, 3 more would be built from its remains, Sir, reported Sensor Officer Haiwan Kim, her voice barely steady. "I'm reading approximately 2 million enemy vessels, maybe more. The sensors can't process them all." Yang looked around his bridge, seeing the faces of humans who had trained their entire lives for war, but had never imagined anything like this. Behind them, through the viewports, stretched the largest fleet in galactic history. Krex dreadnoughts bristling with weapons, elegant Zilani coordination ships humming with activity, and human vessels that looked small but carried the tactical knowledge of a species that had never met a fight it wouldn't take. "All ships. This is Admiral Yang," he broadcast across the Allied fleet. "Today we show the galaxy what unity looks like. Today we prove that no force in the universe can overcome beings who stand together." The Devourers attacked without communication, without demands, without any of the rituals that had defined warfare for thousands of years. They simply began consuming everything in their path, starting with the outer defense perimeters. Captain Yan Suha commanded a mixed squadron of human destroyers and Krex heavy cruisers, ships that had been enemies just months earlier, but now fought as a unified force. Her mission was to punch through the swarm's outer shell and strike at the command vessels that coordinated the mechanical horde. "All ships, follow my lead," Ha ordered. "Use the Krex ships as battering rams, then let the human vessels exploit the breakthrough." The squadron charged into the heart of the swarm like a spear thrust into a nest of angry wasps. The Krex heavy cruisers, their hulls reinforced with human armor modifications, smashed through the Devourer formations, while the human destroyers darted between the larger vessels, targeting critical systems with surgical precision. "This is insane," shouted Lieutenant Commander Junho Park from his position aboard the Krex cruiser Iron Fang. "The humans are flying through weapons fire that would vaporize our best ships." But the Devourers adapted quickly. Within hours, they had analyzed. The Allied tactics had begun producing countermeasures. Ships that had worked perfectly in the morning found themselves outmatched by evening. Meijo Shin led the most dangerous mission of all, boarding operations against the automated vessels. The Devourer ships had no atmosphere, no life support, and environments that would kill most organic beings instantly. For humans, it was just another hostile environment to master. "Remember," Shin told his Marines as their assault shuttles approached, "a massive Devourer construction ship. These machines expect organic beings to need air, warmth, and gravity. We're going to show them why Earth breeds the toughest soldiers in the galaxy." The Marines blasted through the hull of the construction ship and found themselves in a nightmare landscape of spinning machinery and deadly radiation, but they had trained for exactly this kind of environment. Using magnetic boots and radiation-resistant suits, they moved through the ship like ghosts, planting explosives on critical systems. "Plant the charges and get out," Shin ordered. "We've got 5 minutes before this thing's fusion reactor goes critical. For 72 hours, the battle raged without pause. The Allied fleet held the line through sheer determination, but the cost was enormous. Zilani coordination ships, their delicate systems overloaded by the constant data streams, began failing. Krex dreadnoughts, designed for short battles of overwhelming force, started running out of ammunition. It was human endurance that kept the alliance together. When Zilani officers collapsed from exhaustion, human communications specialists took over their stations. When Krex gunners could no longer track the rapidly moving Devourer ships, human fighter pilots guided their fire. Lieutenant Sujin Kong was flying her fighter on its last reserves of fuel when she spotted a critical opportunity: a massive Devourer command ship. Its hull, bristling with communication arrays that coordinated thousands of smaller vessels, had moved within range of her damaged craft. "Command, this is Kang," she transmitted calmly. "I'm going to ram the command." "Node, maybe we can disrupt their coordination." "Negative, Kong," came the immediate reply. "Return to base for repairs." But Kong had already made her decision. Her fighter, barely held together by emergency patches, streaked toward the command ship like a bullet. The Devourer defensive systems tried to stop her, but her small craft was too fast and too close. The explosion lit up the battlefield as Kong's fighter, loaded with every explosive device she could carry, punched through the command ship's hull and detonated its reactor. The massive vessel broke apart in a chain reaction that took out dozens of nearby Devourer ships. More importantly, the destruction of the command node caused a temporary disruption in the swarm's coordination. For precious minutes, millions of Devourer ships lost their central guidance and began operating independently, making them vulnerable to the Allied fleet's concentrated attacks. "She did it," whispered Sensor Officer Kim. "The swarm's coordination is breaking down." Yang watched as the tactical display showed Devourer formations falling into chaos. Lieutenant Kong's sacrifice had given them the opening they needed, but the window wouldn't last long. The machines would adapt, rebuild their command structure, and resume their coordinated assault. "All ships, this is Admiral Yang. We have one chance. Hit them now while they're confused. Show them that no machine can match the spirit of living beings fighting for their homes." The Allied fleet surged forward, 3 species united in purpose, ready to prove that cooperation could triumph over consumption the moment. Commander Na Yun-Yun's engineering team breached the final core processing node. Something unprecedented happened across the galaxy. 2 million Devourer ships, which had been operating with mechanical precision for months, simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged, they just shut down like someone had flipped a master switch. "All stations, this is Yoon," her voice crackled. "Through the communication network, we've done it. The central intelligence is offline. Repeat, the swarm is down." For a moment, the entire Allied fleet was silent. After 72 hours of the most brutal combat in galactic history, the sudden quiet felt almost supernatural. Then the cheering began, first from the human ships, then spreading to the Krex vessels. And finally, even the gentle Zilani were celebrating in their own musical way. Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the UES Thunder, watching the tactical display as millions of red dots representing enemy ships turned gray. The Devourers hadn't been destroyed. They were still physically intact, but without their central coordination network. They were just floating metal. "No more dangerous than asteroids, sir," reported Sensor Officer Hai-1 Kim. I'm reading. "Massive power failures across the entire swarm. Whatever Commander Yoon's team did, it worked perfectly." The aftermath was almost as challenging as the battle itself. Captain Woojin Pyo found himself coordinating the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Thousands of ships from all 3 species had been damaged, and crews were stranded throughout the battle zone. Priority goes to life support failures. Pyo ordered his rescue coordinators. "I don't care what species they are or which side they fought on. Everyone gets home alive." The human rescue teams quickly proved why their species had earned such a reputation. While other races waited for specialized equipment, humans were already suiting up and heading into the wreckage. Commander Yoon-Soo Lee's damage control specialists performed miracles, patching holes in ships that should have been total losses. How are they doing this? Asked Krex engineer Thokron as he watched human technicians repair his damaged dreadnought using nothing but spare parts and determination. They call it making do, replied Zilani coordinator Silvera. They seem to view impossible situations as normal engineering problems. The victory had consequences that reached far beyond the battlefield. Within days, long-range communications arrays were buzzing with messages from species across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know about the Deathworlders, who had somehow united. 3 different civilizations and defeated an unstoppable enemy. Lieutenant Commander Junho Song was having trouble keeping up with all the diplomatic requests. Sir, we've received formal contact requests from 17 different species. The Altarian Republic wants to discuss trade agreements. The Centauri Collective is asking about military cooperation. Even the mysterious Void Runners have sent an envoy. Young smiled as he read through the messages. Each one told the same story. Isolated species who had heard rumors of the Great Battle and wanted to meet the humans who had made it possible. What should I tell them? Admiral Song asked. Tell them the truth, Yang replied, that humanity is ready to take its place in the galactic community. But we're not interested in conquest or domination. We want to build something better. The changes came quickly. The Zilani Confederation, grateful for their survival, became humanity's first official allies. Their advanced coordination networks were integrated with human military doctrine, creating communication systems that would transform how space fleets operated. The Krex, public reformed under new leadership after the Old Dominion's aggressive policies had nearly led to their extinction, offered their industrial might in exchange for human tactical training. Soon, Krex shipyards were producing vessels that combined their traditional strength with human innovation. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed cooperation itself. For thousands of years, most species had remained isolated, trading occasionally, but never truly working together. The alliance that had defeated the Devourers proved that different civilizations could not only coexist but actually become stronger. By combining their unique abilities, Captain Min Ho-jung, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, found himself explaining human philosophy to species that had never encountered it before. You see, war is necessary? Asked Council Elder Mordith, a being whose species had avoided conflict for millennia. We see cooperation as necessary, Jung corrected. Sometimes that cooperation requires fighting together against those who would destroy what we've built. But the goal is always to protect and preserve, not to conquer. Back on Earth, the news of humanity's galactic debut sparked a renaissance of exploration and discovery. Young people who had dreamed of exploring the stars suddenly had dozens of civilizations eager to meet them. Universities started offering courses in xenobiology, galactic diplomacy, and multi-species engineering. Admiral Yang, now serving as Earth's defense coordinator, often stood in his office looking out at the orbital shipyards where human Krex and Zilani engineers worked. Side by side, the ships they were building weren't weapons of war, but vessels of exploration, designed to carry the Alliance's message of cooperation to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Sir, his aide reported one morning, we've just received a request from the Far Rim colonies. They want to know if we'd be interested in joining an expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy. Yang grinned. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of reaching the stars. Now the stars were reaching back. Send our response, he said. Tell them Earth's children are ready for whatever the universe has to offer. The age of human isolation was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun.